Hey, I'm JRLA, and welcome to the Level Up Business Podcast. In today's episode, I am joined by Ognjen Boskovich, founder of Raven and creator of the Founder Brand Playbook. Together, we're going to explore what it really means to build a founder-led brand in today's AI-driven world so that you can break through the noise without selling your soul. But first, are you a visionary entrepreneur who wants to elevate your brand so that you can increase your influence? If this is you, send me a text, 832-240-1922. It's because I want to teach you. I want to show you how you can turn video content just like this into a published book so that you can start monetizing your unique wisdom in just 90 days. Now, let's get ready to learn, grow, and level up together. I'm so happy you're here. Founder-led sales, founder-led branding, your playbook. You published it a few months ago, which is what caught my attention. How's it been going since then for you with that?
Yeah, I guess some additional context. I was initially selling that, and a few things happened. Like, first of all, like you gotta spend a lot of time and effort if you want to sell courses. So a lot of the time needs to go on that, which I wasn't doing. So I wasn't getting many sales. Which wasn't the goal, but still, it didn't see the world. So I decided to stop selling it, make it free, at least for people who I, intended it for, with founders and marketers supporting them in B2B. So yeah, I made it free. Like any good comment to get lead magnet post on LinkedIn, it did well, and I got a bunch of leads as well. Some turned to clients. So yeah, mission accomplished.
Well, before we get too far down the path of founder-led branding, what is it? Because you've got a bunch of B2B entrepreneurs that listen to this podcast. It's something that I believe as a tremendous growth opportunity, specifically as we move further into the age of AI. I believe the perspective of a founder, the humanity of a founder, but why founder-led branding? Why now for you?
Yeah, so definitely nothing new for me, and definitely not for the world and for the business world either. So I think you have a point. It is there is this present component to it, and demand for this has never been higher, and I think it has a few reasons. So first of all, on a real macro level, historically the product cost used to be the biggest cost for a business. You would build a factory that would cost you millions and millions, and then hopefully the factory starts producing, you start selling that. But over time, the cost of building a product went down, and something else kind of made up for that. The cost of acquisition, acquiring new customers, went up. So now, and for the past at least 2 decades or probably more, the biggest investment or cost for any business is acquisition, acquiring new customers. So a lot of things we did to get customers kind of played out, or we're seeing diminishing returns with a lot of them. SEO is a great example, outbound another, and so on. Paid ads. So it seems like as we're progressing on this journey, it seems like the lesson is always kind of comes back to basics and fundamentals, right? So marketers we love reinventing, rebranding stuff, but it seems like when you can tell a good story, when a person with a face can tell a good story, and when you can distribute it to as many potential customers, that seems to have been always the playbook. We at a few points in time decided to take some other routes because technological vendors hyped us into, okay, we can measure this, we can do that. But yeah, I think it all comes down to this: like, figure out a good message that will resonate with your potential buyer, and figure out as many different ways to get as much reach, to get in front of them as much as possible. And yeah, Founder Brand kind of, became a hype maybe a year and a half or two ago. I think that's when it peaked, and we're still at that phase. And I think all of these things led to that, but then some less macro things led to that, like a few really good examples, case studies of a founder brand happened, like, Adam Robinson, Chris Walker, you had on the podcast previously, folks like that who kind of have shown the way to B2B, because B2B is historically always has been conservative in trying new things. Like, let's always do the things we've always done them. Let's not try anything new, anything risky, a very risk averse environment. And then once a few people or companies show a proof of concept or something, then everyone starts copying it, right? So
Yeah.
we're in the copying phase, which is good for a business like mine. Uh, Maybe good for the world. We'll see more founders sharing their stories, things like that. There's
Yeah.
there's good stuff there. Uh, Obviously, a lot of bad stuff as well, but we'll have to deal with that.
Well, and that's where I want to hop in. And I'm so happy you said three words: back to basics.
Hmm.
Let's get back to the basics. And as you mentioned, the idea, the notion of founder led branding, it's not new. It's just, I think, the context in the way that a founder can go to market that has changed, and the acceptance of that, the adoption of that has changed as well, because you do have a couple of the trailblazers, as you mentioned before, like Chris Walker. We had a conversation there a while back, but for those watching and listening, this is not new to you. It might be new to them, but it's not new to you. You've been leading this initiative now for 7+ years. You've worked with dozens of founders. You have the proven results. 2 million plus in pipeline in 12 months for an agency founder. 600,000 in ARR over 18 months for a SaaS. It it's proven. So it's not just theory anymore. And that's why when you release this founder brand playbook, you're sharing your unique wisdom. And that's what I'm all about. I'm more interested in the unique wisdom of other entrepreneurs, which comes from their unique perspective and their unique method, and then sharing that with others to help them level up. Why did you get into founder led branding to begin with in the first place? What inspired you to say, you know what, I'm going to build my wisdom around this?
Yeah, a few things led to that. So uh, before I started Raven, the agency, and started focusing on founder brand, I was an in-house marketer, usually on small, startup teams, some agencies, and then some SaaS products. And uh, I was always kind of a content heavy marketer, relied heavily on content. I did all sorts of things, like, media buying, CRO, all kinds of things. But what always produced the biggest returns was around content. And by the way, I don't even like saying the word content and calling it content marketing, because content is just the medium. But essentially, that was brand, right? So
I'm
kind
gonna,
of
I'm
a,
gonna hop in real fast on your point. My perspective has shifted over the years to where I think content creators is another word I'm seeing used more now with the creator economy. Let's go back to basics. Communication, like you said, it's just but it's just communication. So I just wanted to pause on that, because I've been rethinking this myself. It's not content, it's not creating, it's just communicating.
yeah, true. I would hesitate to call myself to relate myself to communications, because it has some other meanings, and it's too like corporate-ish, uh,
Ah, fair point.
right? But that would be like a positioning issue for me. But you're right. Essentially, that's communication. That's figuring out what's your message or narrative, and then distributing it. But yes, back to like how Raven was born. Then I try to identify the things that had the most impact when I did them as an in-house marketer, and kind of narrow down to the most impactful things and package that as a service. So I started doing essentially fractional head of content or comms
Mhm.
uh, gigs. I landed two of them, and then after that, I had a hard time finding new ones. And then I started thinking about, maybe it's a positioning issue. Like, it's not easy for someone that's gonna be like still an external guy on the team to jump in and be ahead of whatever. So I was like, okay, let's narrow down some more and figure out what's the one most impactful thing I did and is still working right now. And so that was essentially Founder Brand. And then uh, there was also a big pull from the market to do that at that time, because that's when there was a growing hype and demand for founder brand stuff, or founder led marketing, or whatever you want to call it, thought leadership. uh, Pretty much the same thing. So yeah, that's how I ended up focusing exclusively on founder brand. That's still not the only thing I do, like with my clients, but that's usually where I start, and that's the foundation of the work we do. But eventually we often expand into different content slash brand slash comms directions.
Yes. Well, I think you make two important disclaimers here, and I want to pause on these points when we're talking about founder led branding. Is your disclaimer number one is not every founder can build a strong founder brand. And disclaimer number two is that this idea of founder led branding isn't about becoming a LinkedIn influencer. And I think there's some misconceptions, perceptions, and I wanted to address. Let's break each one of these up point by point, one and two, because I get a lot of, and I've talked to probably 120 entrepreneurs now over the last 6 months when it comes to the opportunities that they can elevate their brand, increase their influence, and what's holding them back. And a lot of it is self-limiting beliefs or their own perception. So let's come back to your first point. Not every founder can build a strong founder brand. Why do you believe that?
First of all, I'm like, uh, let's say I don't believe all of those feel good phrases like you can do anything, you can be anything. Like, let's start there. I think we are, you talk about self-limiting beliefs. I'm kind of a realist. Like, first of all, let's start there. As I said, like, I don't think everything is doable. So
Well, I'm going to hop in. You're bringing me back to my childhood because I wanted to play in the NBA. I wanted to be a basketball player, and my mom said, "Let me wake you up real fast, son. It's not happening." Just like now, I'm a father, and my oldest son has, "Dad, I want to be an F1 driver." And I'm like, "Son, let's get some real like you said, you're a realist. I'm right there with you." And I agree. Like it takes a certain personality, a certain build to be an NBA player. It takes a certain personality, a certain drive to be an F1 driver. So I'm completely following where you're going with this.
yeah, to follow up on your kids and that whole story, like, I used to play music and then other arts as well when I was kid, and then adolescent, and then
What did you
20s.
play? What did you play?
Played the guitar, some bass, sang, and unfortunately as well had a band and thing. Did played with clay before that, sculpting and all. But now when I have kids, I have two. One is 7, the other is a baby, so more applied to the older one. But my the last thing I would want for him would to strive to be an artist. Like, 1%, not even 1% chance, like way lower than that, right? And so many things you cannot control. But yeah, back to founder brand. Like, I think the essential thing I'm saying is you have to earn this. To have success with a founder brand, you sort of have to earn it. And by earning it, I mean, like, do you actually have something of value and insight to share and post on LinkedIn or elsewhere? Doesn't matter. Like, the ideal scenario I often describe is like, this is your second or your third company, and you've been doing this for 5, 10, 15 years, and obviously you've learned a lot about yourself, the business, the space, the industry, your customer, competitors. And after doing that, once you have all of these insights accumulated over years through hard grind work and bunch of anecdotes and whatnot, struggles, then you, like, most certainly have something uh, interesting to share. Like, if you don't, and if you don't have strong opinions, if you don't have a stance on any subject, if you don't have these unique insights, like, is it worth doing? Probably not. In the, like, the macro sense of things, right? Like, you're just another voice in the noise. But if you have this experience, this expertise, these trials that you went through, then you probably have a story worth sharing, and then kind of the audience, the market will recognize that, and you'll have success with the founder brand.
That's a good point. You mentioned the context of perspective, and it takes time to not build that, to really gain it. And I think about the unique wisdom perspective. Unique wisdom equals an entrepreneur's unique perspective, which is then multiplied by their unique method. And come back to that unique perspective, it's lived, learned, shared experience. And I'm finding that decade of time is that's kind of the minimum. Think about like Malcolm Gladwell, like 10,000 hours to really see something and then form an opinion. And it might be contrarian. Perhaps a contrarian opinion is even better than what everyone else is saying, because otherwise it's just the same thing and it's replication and it's more of the noise. And I think that's where your second point is. When you think about founder-led brand, it's not about becoming a LinkedIn influencer. And I hear a lot of, I would say, concern, like, I don't want to be an influencer. And I'm like, this isn't about becoming an influencer. This is about influencing, but it's not about being an influencer. I think there's a distinction between influencing and being an influencer. Am I wrong with my thinking on this?
Yes, I mean, you're right. Yes, to all you said. So I made that distinction often. I do it often in my content on LinkedIn, in this playbook as well. Because first of all, for me, it's kind of a matter of positioning. A lot of competitors of mine in this space, there's so much of them, first of all, and there's a lot of, like, just bad stuff going out there, a lot of scammy, unethical stuff, copycats and all, and a lot of them officially say they're building founder brands, or working with B2B founders, when in fact they work with a solopreneur who's selling a course and things like that. And then the influencer playbook is right for them. Like, if you're selling a course or something like that, then why not do it? But my target audience, my target market is sort of a more senior, more serious persona in a B2B company, a founder or an executive in a slightly bigger company. So for them, being the influencer is just not the right play. And even beyond the business use case of these terms, for me, I just dislike a typical LinkedIn influencer and don't want to have anything to do with that. And the way I run my engagements is very different than that. And I try to just stay away from that. So I put some effort into making a distinction.
What is the difference for someone watching or listening and they're like, I agree with you 100%. I don't want to be an influencer, but influence is an important part of the role of a founder, of an entrepreneur. In fact, I think about my thinking on this has shifted over the years, and I didn't realize how misunderstood like working with teams and asking what is marketing in one word. If you could just describe marketing in one word, and a lot of the minds have gone to the tactical piece of it. We'll call it the communication layer, as we were talking about before. But if you rise up to the layer above that, your communication is to influence a behavior, which is, if you go even deeper, it's really influencing a belief system for that matter. So how do you balance, like, I don't want to be an influencer, but you still have to influence with your words, thoughts, ideas, insights, IP. What's your take on navigating those two worlds of influencer versus influence?
Yeah, so I mean, a big footnote is when I say a LinkedIn influencer, that has like a negative connotation. Obviously, it doesn't have to mean for everyone, but I've been sort of a power LinkedIn user, been there pretty active for a number of years, and then you just get tired of the same shit that these, we put them in a bucket of a LinkedIn influencer that they produce. So it has kind of a packed meaning very specific meaning for me. But back to your kind of main point of the question, like being the influencer or the influence. So I think B2B gets a lot of things wrong. Like I think the notion of influencing someone's decision is essentially wrong. So in the last few years were kind of a dash of fresh air in B2B. Some new research or even old, very old research just popped up again and highlighted some of these things and brought us with, gave us new ways to think about selling in general, especially in B2B. So what I'm referring to is, okay, on one hand, B2B essentially believes that a sales team can go out there and influence someone to make a purchase, which is like complete opposite of what actually goes on. And what goes on is along the lines of 80-ish% of people have a short list of vendors in mind even before they enter market for a
Mhm.
solution like theirs. So what happens is essentially you experience one of these category entry points, and you become, something internal happens, like a new CMO joins the company, so now you need some new tech, or you're doing layoffs, so you gotta hire a consulting firm, like maybe comms advisory firm. So you write a announcement that doesn't sound as bad as it is. So these internal triggers happen, and then you become interested in buying something. And B2B has had it in reverse, like you reach out to someone and you do your magic, you influence them, and they will then say, shut up and take my money. Like 100% not how it happens. What
No.
happens is the buyer commands the entirety of the buyer journey, unless you like make them wait for a demo 2 months and whatever. Then you're calling the shots, but not in your favor. So yeah, the buyer, is the ultimate decision maker, and that is probably even more true today than 10-20 years ago, when there was less information was available to them, which is 100% not the case anymore. So with all that being said, if you are marketing, if you are building a brand, if you're selling services or a product, what can you do? You can again, all this research suggests you should just be in front of the buyer. You should reach them with your message. whatever the format or the medium. There's better ones, there's worse ones, but the idea is to reach them, and kind of plant the seeds inside their minds, so when they are ready to look into a solution inside of your category, you are also, you have been associated with this category, and they remember you. The brand recall, the famous term. So that's kind of my goal in all marketing I do. That's what I think most, not most, all companies should be doing. In reality, I would say, majority of B2B companies don't invest, or invest very little into that kind of marketing, which is marketing at its core. Reach your future buyers everywhere they are.
Yes, and I want to come back to your point. Like, this is old research that is becoming new again. It's like that proverbial wisdom. There's nothing new under the sun. What is
Back
old
to
is now
basics.
new. Yeah, exactly. Back to basics. And I, I can distill this down, and I wrote about this in my first book. 4 words: help first, sell second. Because I think a lot of times, like if we think about brand and then demand and then expand, everyone's looking at the demand piece of the journey.
Yes.
Well, what about the 95% who aren't in market? I mean, this is we're human beings, we're people. And have we forgotten that? And I mean, you even just recently, and I think this is really important. You shared about a week ago a post on LinkedIn. Uber CPO Sachin, he becomes an Uber driver and delivers food. And you make the point, like, if you're not going out and having conversations with people, prospects, clients, what are you missing? And to me, this is where it comes back to basics. And perhaps the deeper question: how do we get so far off the path that you and I are talking about, coming back to the basics of what builds a brand to begin with in the first place?
Yeah.
Talk to people.
Uh, First, I think we got here because B2B is very risk averse. Like, that makes sense, but not that much to mess up that badly. I think I saw a report recently, like, on average, publicly traded companies in US in tech, I think, so
Mm-hmm.
basically SaaS, public companies have an average CAC payback period of 5 years. So basically, we're living off of, borrowed capital,
Yeah.
and it works when you had zero interest rates, and when everyone was raising huge rounds. But I think that's already changed a lot, and it's probably not gonna go back, at least not entirely, to where we were 5 years ago, or whatever. But yeah, I think this lack of critical thinking, and just like that especially in big orgs, like, there's so many layers between a buyer and a decision maker, and I think great founders, like the Paul's essay on founder mode and things like that. I think that kind of a sentiment, that you should be, no matter how big the org, you should go out of your way to get and as close to the customer as possible, and never stop hearing from them. For me and folks who sell services, it's super easy, because, like, there's no other way to survive in this line of business unless you're talking to customers a dozen times a week. Like, you have calls with prospects, sales calls, discovery calls. You have you talk daily with clients. So, like, for me, it's super easy to know, and I had so many insights since I began doing consulting, or started an agency. Like, the number, the amount of, the way I understand my buyer now versus when I was an in-house marketer is, like, 100x. And if I was an in-house role, whatever. Now I would 100% make time to talk to like at least two customers every week or month. Go out to events, things like that. Like you they'll tell you pretty much everything you need to know. You just have to figure out how to turn those insights into action. But like without this feedback loop with them, like things fall apart.
Well, something that I've been seeing as we're shifting into this age of AI and buying behavior continues to transform really at an exponential rate. We think about like the decline of search, the decline of ads, the entry into large language models. It's coming back to getting people back, or human in the loop, as the next kind of, I think, buzzword. We'll be able to see if that's going to be a thing in 6 months, a year from now. Human in the loop marketing.
Back to
But
basics.
yeah, it's the back to the basics. And you think about like who's doing this. I think Pete Caputa comes top of mind. Like he's out there like almost every single day, engaging, asking, sharing, and he doesn't have the answers. And it's like there's a sense of humility too. Like I know they just came. He just posted something. I think it was yesterday, asking about some feedback on a tagline. Like, hey, this is where we're at. I need some feedback on this. Would you be willing to share? So there's a bit of collaboration, there's a bit of co-creation too with the market, and I think that also increases emotion, trust, etc. As we start to wrap up our conversation, and we've really had a nice perspective from you and what you have gained over your time in this space. What can someone who's watching or listening, they are an entrepreneur, they are a B2B founder, what can they do next to continue to elevate their brand and increase their influence? Something small, not massive, but just to continue to make progress on their journey here.
Yeah, I shared this piece of advice for a long time, but it makes even more sense now because that's essentially what people, the audience, and the algorithm on LinkedIn and elsewhere is asking for, which is just look lively, look like a real person, and probably the best unlock for a founder who wants to do this is just to document the stuff that's going on inside of their company and their head versus hey, I need to create content. So instead of hey, I need to create content, just think of it, I'm documenting the stuff that's going on inside of my business. I'm documenting, okay, hey, we got a new customer, nice logo. We had this epic testimonial from another customer. Prospect told me about this problem they have on a sales call. I saw a competitor do that. I think it's cheap or whatever. I spoke to a customer. They told me X and Y. We launched this because da da da. So the whole point is you're not gonna have success in 6 months, maybe even not 12 months, maybe not even in 2 years. But if you consider building a brand and doing marketing for your company as a founder, if you start treating that as a core essential role that you have, just like building a product or getting on a sales call, then things will start to click and you'll find time for that. And I think all the data we have, all the changes in the world are suggesting that this job, call it selling, call it marketing, call it brand, whatever you want, I think that's going to be even more important than building a product in 5 years, in 10 years. Who knows what's up in 20 years, but let's address this at least.
I want to double down on that. Why? And the reason I'm asking is you said something and I can almost feel the tension from someone watching or listening. They're like, well, you might not see success in 6 months, 12 months, perhaps even 2 years. And I've lived this myself. Like if I go back on my entrepreneurial journey, once I got really invested, and particularly in the vertical I was in before, that's when things changed. But it was a good 5 years of just continuously investing and sharing and helping first, selling second. But there's that wisdom of when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. Well, when's the second best time to plant a tree? now. And that connects back to a dot you shared before. It's about planting seeds, nurturing seeds, watering seeds. They might not bear fruit 6, 12 months from now, but 24 months, because it's like an olive tree. An olive tree takes 7 years for it to produce fruit. But once it starts producing olives, that olive tree is going to produce fruit for the next, could be hundreds of years for that matter. But how do you then play the long game? And I guess to come back to my original question, why might this be more important, whether you call it brand, marketing, sales? Why might this be even more important than product? I think that's just a really good point to wrap up on here.
Yeah, just like I said at the start of the conversation, product cost has been going down since the recorded history, and the acquisition costs went up. So increasingly, if you remember that blog Andrew Chan published, every marketing channel sucks now. So increasingly, my answer to any question around why invest in Founder Brand now and things like that, my answer is more and more often, what else are you gonna do? There's very few channels that work at scale and are efficient and effective. And so yeah, it's back to the point about the time it takes to find results. Like, yeah, you can have one post and immediately get 10 demos book and close 2-3 of them. That's not impossible, but think of this whole process as just like finding product market fit. Like the same way you need to find a fit in the market for your product, you need to find a similar fit for your content, your message, your presence. So maybe it's not this channel, maybe it's another channel, maybe you need to be experimenting more widely, throwing different bets. But yeah, that's the job. And if you're expecting it to be easy, probably best not to even start with it.
Because this is one of those things that you do have to, and I know you're a big believer of this, go all in. And perhaps there might be a person who has listened to this point in our conversation. Well, they got to this far. They're taking the first step to going all in. You've got a great resource for them to continue to learn. Back to our point of helping them. You've got the Founder Brand Playbook that you have published. It is a wonderful resource. I highly recommend it. What is the best way for them to connect with you, reach out, to get the playbook, to say hello, and continue the conversation that we started here today?
Yeah, I can insert a little piece of advice there. When you start off with building a founder brand, stay very focused, especially in terms of channels. So I'm in that phase as well. So I'm only on LinkedIn, pretty much. So yeah, just I guess find me on LinkedIn if you can figure out the spelling, and ping me if you want a playbook. I'll get it for you.
Can we go ahead and just do the spelling and the pronunciation for those so that they can find you? I want to give every opportunity for people to go out and find you and get the founder Brand Playbook, because it is important. It is an important resource for them.
Link below, but yeah, Ognjen, Ognjen, Boskovic, BO, and then I'm probably the only guy with that letter combination.
Well, that's your uniqueness, and I really appreciate the unique wisdom that you have shared today to help others level up on their entrepreneurial journey. I appreciate you.
Was a pleasure. Love the format. Enjoyed it. Thanks, man.
Thank you again for tuning in to learn, to grow, to level up together. Are you a visionary entrepreneur who wants to elevate your brand so that you can increase your influence? If this is you, send me a text, 832-240-1922. That's because I want to teach you. I want to show you how you can turn video content just like the one that you've been watching here into a published book so that you can start monetizing your unique wisdom in just 90 days.